Welcome back to Outside the Round Pen. This is Season 2, Episode 4. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit a like button on the videos that you've watched and leave any comments on any thoughts in the past videos and especially on this one moving forward. We'd love to hear from you. Last week, we talked about how the parallels with horse tack and preparing a horse to carry tack, saddle, all the fun stuff there. Draws similarities to our preparedness and learning how to wear and walk equipped in the armor of God. This week, I want to talk about reins. And I'm not talking the stuff that falls from the sky. I'm talking the stuff that we use. Usually it's leather or rope of some kind that connects to the horse's mouth and is the way that you direct a horse from the saddle. And how that is a healthy representation of how boundaries work in relationships and otherwise. So let's get started. Welcome to Outside the Round Pen, where we step beyond the basics of training and into the deeper lessons horses teach us about faith, leadership, and partnership with Jesus. Reins guide a horse from a rider's communication, just like our boundaries are set to guide our lives. When you look at the way that horses respond with proper training to the way that their mouth is receiving input from the rider, the relationship grows exponentially, and the ability for the rider to communicate and there to be efficiency in the direct lines, if you will, of communication to the horse's face, which direct the rest of the body, it opens doors for them as a team that is beautiful, and it leads the way for so much. It's foundational, but it also is super critical in the way that you develop future training endeavors, whatever event you want to take the horse into, be it competition or, just day-to-day working with them. It's super critical to have a healthy relationship with you through your hands to the horse's face. Whatever that looks like in your mind. If you're an equestrian, you understand what I'm talking about. If you're not, let me help you. In our day-to-day, we set healthy boundaries or unhealthy boundaries, knowingly or unknowingly, with everyone around us, and they set them with you. It's the same way that a rider communicates with a horse using the reins that connects from the hands to the mouth. Your boundaries set the trajectory for the way that your interactions with everyone around you is going to go. If they're healthy, you're going to be able to navigate a lot more smoothly than if they're unhealthy. And sometimes you don't realize you've set boundaries, healthy or otherwise. Usually if you don't know, they're probably not healthy boundaries, but hey, I'm leaving room for chance here. You might have unhealthy boundaries that are being presented from people around you and you don't recognize it, or vice versa. But all of that comes down to the way that you're going to communicate with them, and a lot of it's not spoken. I don't remember the exact percentage, but I know that if you were to do some research, it's very easy to find tons of studies and statistics on the fact that human communication is very minimally through words. Majority of it is through facial expression, through hand and body movement. It's all communicated in so many different layers. And those boundaries, not just physical boundaries where, you might not want to have a handshake with someone who has a very sweaty palm. That's just not fun for anyone. I'm not talking that. I'm talking emotional boundaries where you have walls up around certain areas of your story, certain areas of your heart, certain areas of, anything, right? You boundaries are meant, when they're done right, they're meant to help you thrive. They're there to give you a structure, because we serve a God who is creative within structure. He doesn't do chaos. Our enemy does chaos. That's an unhealthy boundary, is something that allows chaos to abound. And when I work with a horse on taking reins, right, which is the communication from your hands as a rider to their mouth, Their head directs their entire body. They're a long body, not a tall body. So for them, you move their head and neck, the rest of the body has no choice but to follow. Otherwise, they're falling over. And even then, technically, they're following. So the boundaries that I'm talking about with our communication, they come into play with reins because you cannot have a relationship or direct communication with them from the back of them without those, at least starting out, right? I love riding without them, and there's a lot that has to do with like what I just mentioned with people. Body language communicates to the horse through your legs, through your seat, which is something I won't go into. If you're equestrian or have any horse background as far as riding goes, you'll understand what that means. If you don't, look it up, because I'm sorry, I don't have time to go into that. That'd be a whole nother video. But all of your body is going to affect the way that you're communicating with them. The most direct link and the most visible link for the case study of today's video is going to be the reins, because it's a very easy relationship for people to watch and see through at least what we're working with Josie. So just as boundaries maintain relationship, reins help guide the communication with a horse. Foundation for getting her ready to be able to take an actual bit and bridle and reins for riding is going to be what's called a halter and a lead rope, which I just convert into reins. The halter that I'm using in all of the clips leading up to this, everything that you've seen so far, it's a rope halter, a very special rope halter, and a very special rope, lead rope. What it does is there's specific places that it touches on pressure points around the horse's head and face, and then in their mouth, once they get to the bit, there's pressure points on the tongue and then the roof of the mouth, and that's how you direct as far as communicating, because their language is nonverbal, right? We can't communicate with them. Well, you can, but that's super advanced. There's a lot of rabbit trails I could go on in this. But for the sake of these first few clips, I am working with preparing the foundation for her to be able to take actual reins, and by working with her halter, getting her ready. So I've done tons of preparation with her, obviously working with her to have the halter and lead rope as main forms of communication from the ground. She's very comfortable and accustomed to those two pieces. So all that groundwork is laid for me to be able to now, as you're seeing, introduce the actual bridle and bit with the reins. Now, this process is not simple, because I just want you to imagine, if you're a non-horse person, or even if you are, you probably know where I'm going with this, but imagine someone putting their finger in your mouth and then saying, now I want you to focus on what I'm asking you to do. That's going to be incredibly distracting. You're not going to know what to do with that input, and you're probably going to protest because it's not natural. For them, we're putting a bar. It's got a little joint in it, so it moves like this. I won't go into all the details on that, but it's got the ability to touch those pressure points, but it's designed to be kind of tasty. The metal that's used, it's designed to be a little bit tasty to her. But I need to, again, just like we've talked about so many times, I am introducing this as a step. So that means I am not expecting her to take it and work the entire rest of the session with this thing in her mouth. I'm just wanting to see, one, we know she has a past of being ridden. I don't know how they introduced the bit and bridle to her, but I want to check and see if there are any holes there, if there's any if there's any discomfort or residual triggers, if you will, that might cause an issue that I need to work through for training purposes before we reintroduce it again. Or if it's just we need to reintroduce this and just let her sit and think about it, because it is familiar enough that I'm not just training her from scratch. And so it's a testing thing, and just wanting to see how she takes it with my hand over and in between her ears, because those have been a sensitive area that we've been working on her face, on her head. It's a lot of just playing with where she is in her comfort zone. And so as you can see here, there's a little bit of protest, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I'm looking more at whether or not she's willing to accept my input and have a conversation that's healthy, boundaries, or if she's just going to throw a fit and go into an emotional response, which is where we would have to do a different level of training. For the most part, it was just a little bit of protesting, and then she took it like a champ. It's really quite beautiful. Now she's going to chomp on it and taste it and taste all the fun things that have been sitting on it, like the dust and the hay and the whatever else. And I'm going to release her from that because that's huge. I'm so grateful that she was willing to take that. And you saw there was a process there, but I offered it to her. And then she's actually the one that takes it. It's a split second. But if you watch, she's the one that take it. I'm not forcing her to put it in her mouth. I'm putting it on her nose, but I'm not actually putting it in her mouth. And I stick with it until she gives me the appropriate moment where I can release her from all of that pressure. And look, she's wearing it. It's not a problem anymore. She's remembering this is, oh, okay, I've had this before. This isn't completely foreign. It's not fun. Again, it's that same idea of where we started from the very beginning, that she didn't want me in her space, but then she was like, okay, I can tolerate you here. And then now she loves being with me. So it's a gradual process, and I'm very aware of that, and I'm not pushing her too hard, but it is something that you can see right here. There's a little bit of, I'm still not sold on this idea, and that's okay. Boundaries, especially healthy ones, can be uncomfortable sometimes, especially if it's been a long time or you've never had someone work with you on having healthy boundaries. They might feel very harsh or unfair. But again, going back to something I said at the very beginning of this episode, the Lord we serve is not a God of chaos. He's a God of order, which means creativity thrives within boundaries. Relationship, health, love thrive within boundaries, right? Within reason. If you set up a perimeter around your heart and you say, these are the areas that I am okay with and again, it's a phase, right? It's a learning, it's a growing process, just like we just saw with Josie. It's not something that you just dive headfirst into and you'll get hurt. And probably a lot of you have understood this. If you overexpose your life, say you share too much with the wrong person, that can be weaponized against you. So a healthy boundary, using the word, talks about even the fool is considered wise when he holds his tongue, right? Now I'm paraphrasing. There's so much more context to that specific scripture, but you get the idea that there is health on putting parameters on what you do and don't share with someone. Reins communicate some very key things if you think about this, right? So picture yourself being a rider, even if you're not very experienced at it. You're holding reins in your hand. There are kind of 3 specific areas that reins have direct communication for: direction, speed, and commands. Various, right? There's various things that you can do within that. But the idea of you want to turn, so you use this rein and you use your body language to communicate you want to go this way, or you want to slow down, or you want to speed up. There's so many various ways that those commands all across the board communicate those things, but the 2 main ones are speed and direction. Boundaries communicate limits, needs, and expectations. So, an unmet expectation is one of the key reasons that a lot of spouses fight. One spouse had an expectation on something, they may or may not have realized it and didn't communicate it, which would be a healthy boundary, is wanting to honor their partner by saying, hey, I want to do this and this is my expectation. The other side of the coin, right? Then the other partner had no idea that that was the boundary or expectation that was being put in place. And so they didn't know they needed to rise to the occasion or at least have a conversation about it. And so then they're both in trouble. And now you might have miscommunication that takes place and argument, whatever. You can see how it spirals. But that's what boundaries are in place for, is so that you can guard your heart, because you are the only person you can control. You can't control anyone around you. So when you put boundaries in place that are healthy, they support your health and they support those around you. Now, again, you can't control others. So if they take a healthy boundary is an unhealthy boundary, then that's on them and the Lord. But if you do it in an honoring way and your heart is to be loving and you're doing it, especially, hey, Lord, the Lord can help you with this. He can guide you on what you need to do, what areas you need to set up and in place to protect you or to encourage healthy creativity, whatever. But you also need to check in with him and make sure that you don't have unhealthy boundaries around certain areas of your heart, of your life, that you don't want him touching when he is very ready to massage those and help you put healthy ones in place. So just like reins, there's a communication piece here. It's a give and take and it's a conversation, but they are there to help you succeed if you will let them do their job. Boundaries, reins. So this is a perfect example of it might be uncomfortable when you're in the growing process of learning what a healthy boundary might feel like. For her, I'm just letting her have the head stall, the bridle on her face, and she is not thrilled about the idea, but I'm just wanting it to be there to remind her, hey, this actually isn't hurting you. This item isn't what you have issue with. It isn't what you're worried about. It isn't even what you are looking for or anticipating when it goes in your mouth or on your head. What you're concerned about is what's going to be done with it. And you are fully capable of having fun, of being creative, of being curious while you have, for Josie, a head stall on her head and her ears, and it feels really weird and funny in places that it really shouldn't be. And for you, healthy boundaries. It's learning. It's a growing process. So this is a rather rapid jump, but I went from all of those stages on the ground. We played with the halter and lead rope a little bit, and we worked on having the bit and bridle in her mouth and then on her face and around her ears and all of that. And I got to the point where I was like, all right, we're good. That was a great introduction. Now I want to actually see what you can do, what knowledge is still there, what holes are present that are with just working with the pressure on your face. So I went back to what she is very familiar with, which is the halter and lead rope. I turned the lead rope into reins and I tied it to the halter. Now I'm using the combination of body cues and pressure release that we've been working on the ground and those reins to see how she responds to my speed and my direction cues. And so from there, you can see she is handling this absolutely beautifully. But the goal is to be able to introduce her to my hands because every person is a little bit different, and the amount of pressure and the way that I ask for things and my body language and the way that she responds, all of that is going to be a completely different experience for her. And so when I use my hands to massage communication to and from her mouth and feeling her body, I want her to know that I am here for her and I am not going to abandon her in something that's uncomfortable or scary, but this is a growing process and it's an opportunity for her to show me what you have. And then now, okay, is that good or bad? Let's evaluate and let's work from there. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for willingness. Again, this is building a foundation for her to eventually take the actual reins and bit and bridle. And this is just, it's a test. And she can't fail it. The only way she could fail it is if she completely blows up and stops completely and I walk away, which I'm not leaving. And the Lord isn't planning on it either. And he wants to massage and work on communication and healthy boundaries with you and your heart and the people around you, just like I'm doing with my hands through those reins to her face. It's a very sensitive area and very delicate, and it should be handled very delicately. Here's one of the cool things that I want to share about this is boundaries are not walls. They're not. They're not meant to be hard and fast. They're meant to flex and grow with you as the seasons shift and change and the people around you and circumstances, everything shifts and changes. Just like those, just imagine if we were to use sticks, poles, straight to the horse's face, and that's how we communicate. There is so much rigidity in that. There's no flexibility. There's no creativity. That is not something that breeds a healthy relationship with the horse because, again, the face is so tender, it's so delicate that it should be handled with such grace and admiration because it's such an intricate piece of creation, right? It's so integral. They just down to the whiskers on their nose and chin, their muzzle, right? They use that like fingers. That's how they feel. So just a single hair, it removes their ability to have spatial recognition on the end of their nose. It's down to just the very chemical makeup of their face. There is so many little pieces there that need actual delicate, like I've said now, I feel like a broken record, but delicate. It should be handled with such care. The Lord wants to handle your heart, and hopefully you have people around you. If not, He wants to bring and introduce you to people who can do the same thing with teaching you and helping you learn how to have healthy boundaries with others as well as with Him. And so, wrapping this up, I just want you to see how fast of a learner she is, because again, this was in one session. It was not a long amount of time. And we went from her kind of not loving the idea of that being on her face or utilizing that to then me being on her and her taking this input to her mouth, to her face, right? It's not in her mouth, but it's on her face. Using those reins to guide and steer her with the combination of my body, that she is, look, she's learning. Oh, that's what you mean. None of this is different in the sense that the fundamentals of what I'm asking are the same, but the circumstances have shifted, but that doesn't mean my response needs to. You can see here I've kind of released that pressure because she's done so well in receiving my input through those reins. I'm doing something for my term is just a ride along. I'm just letting her dictate where we're going. The main key is that she has to keep moving, and I will only course correct with those reins if it's needed, because the goal is, again, to remind her, hey, I'm along for the ride. I'm not leaving you. This is meant to be fun and exciting. I want it to be an adventure. Might be uncomfortable, but again, doesn't mean it's dangerous. And that's it. This might seem like it's a relatively small thing that I've done, but I am going to release her. I'm loving on her face the area that we did the most work so she can process. I am not trying to hurt that area of her. I want to work with it because I know what potential is in her ability to receive that bit and bridle. And she loves it. Like you can see, I'm just taking her face and I'm scratching all over, which it used to be uncomfortable for me to even come close to her forehead. And now she's letting me scratch and rub and itch on her eyes and her face, all of it. And I take that as a huge win. Just like what she did before with all of these other phases of growth that she's experienced, all these other areas that I've been training her and seeing encouraging her, where she can grow. The Lord wants to do the same thing with you. He wants to massage and let you love Him through this journey of Him touching and investing into growing and developing and encouraging you to become the maximum of your potential in every area of your life. And that takes you allowing Him to guide those boundaries on your heart, on your story, everything, with people around you as well as with Him. And it's so beautiful because it concludes with this very intimate moment between Josie and I. And the Lord wants to do the same thing with you. It's not meant to be this highly emotional, big, long, knockdown, drag out, fight type. Oh my gosh. And then at the end of it, you have this massive realization of, wow, this area of my heart needed so much help and you fixed it all in one go. No. It's meant to be such an intimate moment, and it doesn't have to be those. I'm not saying those are wrong, but I am saying the majority of the growth that you want to see, if it's healthy, it's done in those micro moments, in those small moments of intimacy with the Lord, and the ability for you to see His love in an adventure or somewhere that feels uncomfortable. So in conclusion, when we put ourselves in the rider's seat and we try to dictate our own direction for our lives, we try to take control of those reins and we don't have skilled hands and we don't have the relationship with our own story, the foresight or the vision with our own story and our own life to even know where to guide us correctly. So I want to encourage you that with those same hands, those same reins, I want to proverbially as well as physically, if it's helpful for you, picture yourself handing the reins of your life over to the King of Kings, the one that you were meant to carry, the image bearer that you are. And I want you to invite him to hold those and teach you the areas where those healthy boundaries need to be massaged, or unhealthy boundaries need to be massaged into healthy boundaries, and where he can introduce these beautiful relationship areas with him so that the rest of your life, the outside circumstances, everyone around you, you can start to have that same impact on. You can start to have a witness and a testimony to people that don't know you very well or have not seen you with healthy boundaries, be able to go, whoa, wait a minute, what changed? And you can point to the Lord and say, he has the reins of my life now, and those boundaries on my heart with him, they're healthy, and I'm working on making them healthy for everyone around me too. This promotes your ability for you to navigate life with the confidence of a king's son or daughter. You have the authority now through the communication from his hands, not yours. Your hands are off. You just get to be along for the ride. Only you're carrying him, so forget that breaks down. But you're along for the ride, and he is the one that's going to guide you. And this episode specifically talking about boundaries and reins, they talk and coincide with each other. And I hope that word picture, as well as the physical pictures of working with Josie, were able to be helpful for you. So I want to conclude by inviting you to invite the Lord to be ever present in your growth journey, your adventure around healthy boundaries, and fully hand him the reins of your life. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching. Please consider supporting our ministry, whether by giving or sharing this message with someone who needs it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's next.